3 weekends remain in the TC America powered by Skip Barber season, and the stretch run begins here and now at the Crown Coins GT World at Road America. Welcome to America's National Park of Speed alongside Calvin Fish and our special guest, two-time TC America champion and current GT4 America Silver Class points leader Kevin Bohm. I'm Ryan Marine. DJ Clark was down patrolling the pits for us on this gorgeous day in central Wisconsin. Beautiful racetrack, beautiful weather, beautiful part of the world as well. So much to love about coming to Road America, Calvin.
Absolutely. What a treat it is to be back here at Road America. I fell in love with this place and the venue back in the late 80s when I started to race here for the very first time. The village of Elkhart Lake has got the calm and the serenity, and then you get to the racetrack and it's full of energy here with the speeds that we have, and certainly a challenging race ahead of us here in quite perfect conditions.
As you can see, beautiful weather, just over 80 degrees Fahrenheit, track temperature starting to climb into the triple digits just now here in the late afternoon, and standing on the grid as we get ready to roll for the first race of the weekend is our own DJ Clark. DJ, what stories are you chasing down in the pits?
Well, Ryan, as you said, it is absolutely gorgeous weather out here and a little bit of a breeze, which is going to make things interesting. It's a headwind coming down the front straightaway, which means it'll be a tailwind coming down the moraine sweep. That'll factor into a little bit of the drafting game that we'll play in these TC cars. But the biggest story that I'm going to be following here is the domination of Ricca Autosport and Gen Racer. I had a chance to talk to the team a little bit earlier. Watch for them being a little bit weaker in Sector 2. That's their Achilles heel this weekend, and especially on the first couple of laps, that could be the opportunity where JMF and some of these other Toyota Corollas have the opportunity to take the jump over them. Cars starting to roll here right now. You can see them just over my shoulder. It's a beautiful grid, and they're ready to go racing.
And we're ready for it as well. Thanks, DJ. He'll be on top of all the stories from the pit lane as we go throughout this 25-minute race today. Kevin, you've been on track already here today and throughout the course of this weekend in your GT4 car. Plenty of experience in some of these touring cars as well over the years. What makes this such a challenge but also such a joy from a driver's perspective?
Well, I mean, I think everybody sees this track and there's just straightaways everywhere, and you think top speed matters, but at the beginning of every one of those straightaways is a really complex corner. So I think getting that drive off, getting a good exit, that really matters on how much speed you have down the straightaway, and especially in these touring cars, once you get to that 120, 130 miles an hour, the draft really starts to come into play, and like DJ said, the wind is going to play a big part in whether you've got the headwind or the tailwind everywhere around the track.
Qualifying was super tight. The top 3 positions all to Ricca Autosport, but less than a second around this massive facility covering their top 3. On the pole position is the team boss, Jeff Ricca, but he's brought in some more impressive young talent alongside. Justin Gravitt making his series debut, the youngster from Texas getting ready to roll for his first pro-level race, and PJ Gronke, who loves this track, the Canadian, really strong in qualifying too, Cal.
Yeah, the Hyundais look like the cars to beat once again, but Nudov's coming off the VIR weekend with a lot of momentum, grabbing their first win for the Toyota camp and JMF. So we'll see how that all-wheel drive Toyota runs here this weekend. There is a threat of rain over the course of the weekend, so for race 2 tomorrow, that could really come into play.
We saw the Corolla get its first win at VIR. That came in mixed conditions. I bet they're doing their rain dance. That all-wheel drive would thrive if the rain started to come down.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're getting closer, and the Hyundais had a little bit of a BOP tweak since the last round, a bit more weight on board. Higher ride height, which certainly affects these race cars, really critical, that front end. They're 10 mil higher in the front. What does that do to a race car? How does it destroy the balance?
Well, I mean, especially with the front. So with front-wheel drive, like when you raise that ride height, you lose the mid-corner grip. And when you lose the mid-corner grip, you have this, like, you want to turn the wheel a little bit more because it's not turning, and then you end up not being able to go to power, and you make it worse. So it's definitely, you lose the front grip, which loses when you can get the throttle, loses all the straightaway speed. So it's kind of adds up all the way around the track, especially here with so many straightaways.
A glimpse there at Shelby Mills, another newcomer to the series here this weekend, making his first start at this level of motorsport. And Kevin, you had a long career racing at the amateur level, a multi-time SCCA national champion here in the States. But take us back to your first TC America start. Did you feel like you were almost starting all over again, making your first pro start?
I mean, absolutely. I remember knots in my stomach, and it felt like I forgot everything that I ever knew about racing, even though I'd already had hundreds of amateur races. But it's so I can remember it like it was yesterday, just how important every race was to me and how I wanted every result to be absolutely maximized, and I'm sure everyone out there feels exactly the same way every time.
We've talked about the Hyundai story, we've talked some about the Corollas, but at the back of the pack you see the two Mazdas from FTG back in the field here this weekend. They've been chasing some electrical gremlins. They really hope those are sorted ahead of today's race. We'll cover that story as we go, but this is the starting grid. Pole sitter is Jeff Ricca from Ricca Autosport. His impressive young teammate Justin Gravitt will start alongside. Plenty of Spec Miata experience. First time racing in one of these front-wheel drive cars. Row number 2 of the grid to PJ Gronke, the Canadian TCA champion a year ago. And he's got Jonathan Neudorf, who had that big win at VIR, starting alongside in the second row. Eric Coons, comfortable there in the third row next to Antonio Costantino in another JMF Motorsports Corolla. They start 5th and 6th. James Klimas from the Skid Barber Racing School team has the other rookie in the field, Shelby Mills, alongside in 7th and 8th positions respectively. And Sally McNulty and Joey Jordan back in the championship here this weekend. FTG Racing with a pair of Mazdas. They're hoping that they've been able to get those electrical gremlins sorted out, and looking forward to a long day of racing here today at Road America. 10 cars deep, the grid, but it is awfully strong in terms of the depth of competition. Kevin, you've raced against some of these names and some of these teams in the past. You know what kind of challenge touring car racing can be. It's close and it's very competitive.
That's right, and I remember a lot of the names here. It's been a few years since I was out there with them, but every time we were on track, I had to take all of them very, very serious, because every manufacturer, every driver had strengths and weaknesses, and I had to have that game plan going into it on where they were going to be fast and how they drove and how I could use that again for my advantage, or how they might use me to their advantage. So it's a pretty cool thing to see everybody still out there, and the competition looks just as tough as ever.
And Cal, in this style of racing, you have such a disparity in terms of the cars, front-wheel drive and all-wheel drive, very different philosophies from a powertrain perspective in some of these cars too. Maybe more diversity inside the field than any other class on an SRO weekend.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. We've got a lot more manufacturers showing interest of being on this grid for next year, so it's certainly a melting pot of different technology. But just looking at this racetrack, Kevin, a couple of years ago we had the resurface here. It seems like the character and the nuance of the track has changed a little bit. What have you been feeling this weekend hitting the track again in 2025?
Yeah, absolutely. I think since the repave, a lot of the apexes of the track have started to age a little bit, and you see kind of the aggregate start to present itself, and that's really rough on the tire. And when you have a brand new tire, you can use that. The tire's new enough and cold enough that the tire just kind of falls into those peaks and valleys and makes grip. But as the tire builds temperature and pressure, you can't do that anymore. So almost like the track starts to get wet, we have to start searching for grip, and we might have to go around those areas a little bit, or we might have to brake more narrowly into the turn and kind of change our lines to find the grip, just like we do in the rain. So this is a completely new thing compared to what the surface was before they repaved. So I think that makes this race really tricky now.
That repave was completed in October 2022. Remarkably, it was only the second full-track repave in the history of this venue, which opened in 1955. 14 turns around, just a shade over 4 miles in length, 171 feet of elevation change around a single lap of this place. It is spectacular, it is challenging, and quite simply, it is the favorite of just about anybody you talk to in terms of the racetracks on the calendar for an SRO series. Field coming into alignment onto the front straightaway. There's this big climb up the hill, and waiting on the other side is the gantry, with Tom Hansing hanging out with the green flag, ready to get this race underway. Front row belongs to the Ricca Autosport teammates. Ricca and the newcomer Gravitt side by side. Pretty good getaway from the pole man, Jeff Ricca. The battle is for second. PJ Gronke from the second row got a really strong start. He's to the inside of his young teammate Gravitt. Behind him, Neudorf pokes the nose out of line just a little bit. He's getting challenged for position by Coons. That's the battle there, center of the screen, roaring through turn one. It looks like Coons will drop the spot. Neudorf hanging on to fourth position in the run down to turn 3.
Yeah, great jump there by PJ Gronke. Timed that perfectly behind his team leader and pole sitter, Jeff Ricca there. So he got the jump on the youngster, Gravitt there, who slides into P3 after that excellent qualifying run here earlier this morning.
Tentative on the start, as you might expect from a youngster making his debut racing at this level. Good battle here, 4th and 5th, coming down the run to turn 5. Great passing opportunity, downhill brake zone here, side by side as the Corolla squirms under the brakes. Really good battle, two abreast, 2 deep through this field. Look at that Toyota able to hang on despite the challenge there from Coons. That's 4th and 5th up for grabs.
Yeah, Neudorf, we're seeing all season long as an excellent young racer, not afraid to get his elbows out early. Kept it nice and clean there, but he just went really late on the brakes there. Tire temps are going to come up extremely quickly here today, Kevin, you'd think.
Yeah, that's right, and that's the trickiest part about this first lap, because these cars only got 1 lap out of pit lane to try to get the heat in the tires. So that's the main thing you're focusing on in the first lap, is who did the best job of getting the temperature and the pressure into the tire, and that allows them to kind of push right from the beginning.
Championship leader Jeff Ricca, who has controlled this season. He's not finished worse than 3rd in any of the races so far. Controlling the race from pole. Battle, though, is for the 2nd position as Gronke has it. And trying to hang on ahead of his teammate Gravett. Meanwhile, this is a bold look to the inside by Klimas, looking to take the position away from Sally McNulty through the kink. Cooler heads prevailed there and decided not to take that risk, at least not this early in a 25-minute contest. The kink, Kevin, a fearsome corner around this place. You don't often see side by side.
No, I mean, if you do see it, it often doesn't work out very well for either driver. So I think what we saw there was the right decision, especially this early in the race when there's a lot of time left to make that position later.
Oh, this is tight there, going through the final corner on the front stretch here. Gravett poked his nose to the inside on PJ Gronke, and that's allowed Jeff Ricca to escape a little bit.
Gronke swept the weekend here at Road America a year ago, got both pole positions as well. That helped propel him to the TCA Championship in the final year of that TCA class. Side by side again, Neudorf and Coons. This battle not going anywhere. Here comes Coons crossing over to the inside, throws that Hyundai up the inside into turn number 1. But Neudorf is able to carry good speed around the outside, and this fight's not done yet, Cal.
No, that was great racing there. Just good racecraft there by Coons. Down to the inside now into turn 3. Neudorf's going to run around the cushion there. Drops the wheels a little bit. I'm not sure how much momentum and acceleration he lost. Pretty even there as they head down the Moraine sweep.
Now the Toyota camp, they've been looking for horsepower all season long. This looks promising here. They're able to stay side by side through turns 1, 2, 3, and all the way down now to turn 5. This time Neudorf's got the inside line and he uses it to his advantage. He's able to hang on, but boy, it's not going to come easy today.
No, he really left it really late there. Almost was able to outbrake and get back onto the racing line, pick up a little bit of that grip there into the brake zone, Kevin. He's looking pretty feisty here in the early going, drops a wheel there. One of the trickiest corners I feel on this racetrack is turn 6 to get right.
That's right, and I love seeing side-by-side action like that. I remember doing a lot of that in touring car, and definitely once you drive, especially the outside line like Neudorf did for several turns, sometimes you'll pick up stuff on your tires. So I think the trick is feeling that and driving to the grip of the tire once you have a battle with someone like that.
Impressive job by the young man. First year of touring car racing, pulling double duty across multiple championships this weekend, as he's done all year long. PJ Gronke fended off a challenge a moment ago from Gravett, who tried to take 2nd place away from his more experienced teammate.
Got that new extra cushion there. That's kind of safety net for the drivers. Have you ventured out there yet this weekend, Kevin? Does it give you a little bit of grip, or you're in trouble if you're that far adrift of the kink?
Well, I think they put that out there discouraging us from going out there, but as a driver, we always try to experience it.
How about this? Gronke and Gravett, they're not done yet. Gravett had it for a moment, but PJ fights back and gets back in front. That's allowed Neudorf up into the mix. It's also let Jeff Ricca sprint away. We just saw our race vision powered by AWS, and Ricca really strong. He's got the best sector time in 2 of the 3 sectors. And he'll have to watch this battle from the rearview mirror, because here it comes up the hill to complete another lap. Gronke holds 2nd place, but only barely so, with Gravett and Neudorf keeping pace and bringing Eric Coons along.
Yeah, it's a pretty toasty temperatures out there. So Gravett didn't really want to run in the draft there, and with these essentially production-based cars, Kevin, as you know, you got to keep them within the thresholds temperature-wise.
Right, and it's like a fine balance. Sometimes you can get a little bit of speed drafting, driving right behind another car, but if you lose a little power, if the temps of the engine start to go up and you lose power, then maybe you actually slow down by being in the draft. So you have to understand the characteristics of each car and know how sensitive it is and how it applies to each ambient temperature today. So that really you have to pay attention as the driver and really know that.
Here we go again, down to turn 5. Gronke under attack once more. Gravett with ample Spec Miata experience, including here at this track earlier this year. Ran the June sprints. This time stays in line, not going to poke the nose out of line, and Neudorf may be looking stronger than anyone as this race continues to progress. That Toyota Corolla in the dry, Cal, looking as strong as it has all season.
Yeah, I'd say this is their best performance so far. Yes, Rick is kind of stretching the gap at the front of the pack, but certainly Neudorf seems to have a similar pace to the 2 drivers from Rick Autosport directly in front of him. He's got to be careful, though, if he tries to make a move. He's got Coons as subtly caught. It's going to be a 4-car battle here for P2 in a moment.
New partner for Eric Coons here this weekend. Man-made, making high quality, very comfortable men's underwear and other products. And he's been sharing some of the products with us as well as with some of the fans. They've got a t-shirt cannon that they've loaded up with some of the underwear products they're firing off to the fans that are here at Road America so they can sample it for themselves.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun there. They did that at the parade, the annual parade that we have here in Elkhart Lake last night, so certainly a great way to start the racing weekend.
A lot of fun to be had anytime you come to a racetrack, but especially so here at Road America, the annual parade where the race cars from all of the series racing here this weekend make the trek just a handful of miles down the road to the village of Elkhart Lake, and that's where the racing history of this venue began decades ago, the middle of the 20th century, road racing through the streets of the village and the adjoining country highways. Eventually the racing outgrew the city streets, and Cliff Tufte dreamed up this place, Road America, and it has been a classic since it opened its doors back in 1955.
I think to your point, you can see Neudorf there. He's really not being swamped by the Hyundais around him, so it's really impressive to see them. Yeah, some of that is going to come at the extra weight that the Hyundais are pulling a little bit this weekend, not going to have the cornering speed. Got to stay inbounds there. Essentially, you see those perpendicular white lines coming off the white line that shows you the edge of the racetrack. You got to have a tire touching that on the exit of turn 1, otherwise they'll start to count those against you from the race steward's office.
Mentioned that we have 2 debutantes here this weekend. Shelby Mills is the second. Talked about Gravett already, but Mills comes from a production racing background up in Canada. He's driven all kinds of different production-based cars over the years.
He actually runs a Velociter that he bought from Jeff Rick at Autosport. I think a Sally McNulty's car from last year that he's now campaigning north of the border, and he's really keen to be here full-time, so this is kind of toe in the water for him. Certainly loves to be here racing at Road America, but there's potential for that to be a full-season entry for Mills for next season, which is exciting.
Yeah, from the suburbs of Ottawa, capital up in Canada. Got a glimpse a moment ago of another Canadian, Antonio Costantino. He continues to learn in his first year racing at the TC America level. Currently down in 7th, but putting in some decent sector times over the last few laps.
Kevin, these Hyundais are carrying an extra 20 kilos, I think it is, since VIR. Talk about your experience when you suddenly get that extra weight loaded on a race car in terms of, as we get deeper into this green flag run, how much management has to take place in these early laps?
Yeah, every bit of weight that goes into these cars affects how long the front tires are going to last. And the Hyundai being front-wheel drive, that's the most sensitive thing about the whole car. Who can protect those front tires long into the race is going to have the fastest car at the end. And it's one thing to have a good qualifying car and be fast at the beginning.
Oh, big moment there as Neudorf goes wide down to Canada quarter, able to bring it back together, back on track, and does so just ahead of Coons. So these two rejoining their battle from earlier in the race, side by side again. And maybe this is the opportunity for Coons to finally pry that position away, capitalizing on the mistake from Neudorf.
Yeah, that was a wild run there for Neudorf down into turn 12. Not sure if he just missed his braking marker or had some kind of technical issue going on. That's allowing Mills now to get a run.
Yep, here he comes around the outside this time. So Neudorf's going to have to shake that off and try and get back in his rhythm. Able to stay alongside, though, with Mills down into turn 1. And Neudorf, as he has done several times, able to hang on to that position despite an immense amount of pressure from one of these Hyundais.
Saw Neudorf there. A little bit out of bounds, Kevin. I think that's going to get noticed by the steward's office. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think there was an advantage gained, so maybe they'll let that pass. But it really raises a question of why he was out there. I mean, this track with the curbing is really, really rough, so there's a lot of vibrations that go into suspension, and sometimes that knocks the brake pads kind of loose in the caliper. So you have to wonder a little bit if maybe the pads got knocked away a little bit, and it was a long pedal that kept it from stopping like normal.
Definitely a possibility. Down to turn 5 this time, the brakes look like they did exactly what Neudorf needed them to do, get a little wide on the exit. Tough spot to be in here though for Neudorf. He's trying to attack, but also has to play a little defense too.
He does. Unfortunately for Gravett, that's really taken the pressure off behind. He can really now focus there, as you saw the Gronke-Gravett battle just go into the brake zone for turn 8. Oh, late there on the brakes for Neudorf. Thinks about it, but Koons is pretty strong in the brake zones as well, it seems.
Between this group, it almost takes a mistake or miscue of some description like we saw for an opportunity to pass, open up.
Managing that left front tire, the carousel, you got to be thinking about that through that corner, I think, Kevin.
Absolutely. I mean, it's kind of like you have a tire budget that you can spin through the whole race, and sometimes you can really lean on it at the beginning and use that grip, but you can't do it the whole race.
Problems here for Sally McNulty, for the exhaust-sponsored Mazda from FTG down in the pit lane.
She had some boost issues early this weekend. They did have a chance to do a hardship lap this morning, and we're hopeful that that had been sorted out. I relate a tire to like chewing a piece of gum. If you really go at it hard, you lose that sweetness pretty quick, right? Rather than just a mild.
That is definite.
Whoa, Neudorf going off track, trying to find a way around the 77 of Koons. That's not going to work. Has to gather it back in. Didn't look like he got a great run out of turn 14 and up the hill. So right on the attack now comes Mills, and he pulls along side by side. Look how close they are, working that side draft down the front straightaway.
Yeah, Neudorf did a great job there of not getting in the back of Koons there, because he dropped the wheel and then he was a little bit out of sync getting into his brake zone for turn 14. So that had to be really close. Probably a cat's whisker between the two cars there.
12 minutes on the clock, just past the halfway mark. We saw Sally McNulty make that trip down the pit lane, and DJ can update that story for us down in the pits.
Yeah, Ryan, Sally McNulty headed down pit lane and right into the paddock. I'm told by the FTG team that it is a charge pipe issue that has sent her back in. I'll try to get some more information if they'll be able to be back for race number 2, but right now her race is done.
All right, thanks, DJ. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, second and third again up for grabs. BJ Gronke in the 76, Gravett in the 74. This has been really close all race long, and it's a great contrast in experience. Gronke, a two-time champion at the touring car level here in this paddock, up against a driver making his first ever start in the series. They race under the same tent, though, so they'll have been sharing data all weekend long. But now, that teammate nature kind of goes out the window. They're fighting for second and third here, important positions on the podium.
Yeah, I thought PJ did a really good job there in turn 5. He was on the shallow entry, so to speak, but he still managed to roll decent apex speed and keep the car understeer out of the car coming off the corner, so he wasn't vulnerable climbing the hill up to turn 6. So Gravett's getting some lessons here from the experienced PJ Gronke, but this young 17-year-old on his pro racing debut is certainly having a great run today.
Well, he's had some good ones to learn from, hasn't he? So PJ here this weekend, Jeff Rika as well, but he's got an extra ace up his sleeve, right, Cal?
Yeah, Nick Janssen, legendary driver and now a driver coach, mentor, is in his camp working with him. And it's been a cool story, actually. Nick works with the Haas factory team in NASCAR and running Xfinity cars right now. As this is getting tight into turn 12, we'll focus on this for a moment.
Yeah, once again, Neudorf back on the attack here after dropping a few positions. Seems to have got back in his rhythm, and he has Mills in the crosshairs with just over 10 minutes to go here in race 1 of the weekend. Koons, despite getting by Neudorf, really hasn't been able to set sail. Still very much vulnerable in his own right, and Mills doing a really solid job, as you would expect a driver of his level of experience, albeit not here in this championship. but doing really well to stay right there with Coons.
To your point, Kevin, you see Neudorf completely out of the draft, looking for fresh air on the front end of his Toyota.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it really comes down to finding the way to make the speed when you can, whether it's a draft or just power.
How about that move by Mills?
Woo!
He tries the outside, does get out in no man's land a little bit, but he had a whole head of steam built up running down to turn number 1. They continue the fight. Coons fights back to the inside and gets the position. And maybe that was Mills realizing I was a bit out of bounds on the exit of the corner there. So it's better to give that position up proactively rather than draw the ire of the stewards.
Yeah, this is an awesome battle here. Neudorf just waiting in the wings, seeing how these two teammates fight out in that brake zone for turn 5. They get shallow here. Watch for Neudorf to try and cross over here on the exit here. Try and time it.
Boy, he got him
Oh,
really
he gets
wide.
in deep. He loses the front end.
Yep. So Neudorf will have to gather it back in. Here we go. A couple of Hyundais fighting coming up the hill. Meanwhile, their team boss, Jeff Ricca, leads this race by 6.8 seconds. He has the fastest lap of the race by about 0.8 of a second. So another dominant performance here from Jeff, but behind him, battles aplenty in this field as you take a look here at the race leader in the Liqui sponsored machine.
What are your thoughts on Jeff as a racer? I know you've gone up against him. How do you rate him?
Oh, I loved racing against Jeff. He was tough, but always fair. So he left just enough room. He was aggressive, and it was a real challenge whenever we were next to each other. And it's awesome to see him out front right now. And I can tell you that when he looks in the mirror and he sees all the battles happening, it just makes you really happy when you're in the lead of the race, for sure.
And he loves to see some of those Hyundais right behind him as well. I think he does a great job of that dual role of putting the helmet on, being the race car driver, going for race wins and a championship, but also really paying attention to his customers and his clients, giving them first-class equipment.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, since we were racing against each other, he's grown the team significantly, and I love to see that happening, and having Hyundai involved with it as much as they are, and seeing how many cars he has on track, it's really amazing.
That's the voice of Kevin Bone, two-time TC America champion, 2020 TCA class champion, 2022 TC class titleist, and right now points leader in Pirelli GT4 America. We'll see him on track later on this weekend for a pair of races. Right now, sharing his insight with us for race 1 of TC America, powered by Skip Barber here at Road America. Continuing to watch this gripping battle between Coons and Mills and Neudorf. That's how they run. 1, 2, 3 as they come through the shot here through turn 1 once again.
Curious what's going on with Neudorf's brakes, because we saw him go really deep into turn 12 about 3 or 4 laps ago, and then down into turn 5. I thought he was just going to set that up, Kevin, and try and do the crossover and get up the inside on the climb up to the hill, but he's really struggling in the brake zones, it seems.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of different things going on, especially going into turn 5. I think he got squeezed out to the outside a little bit, almost to an iRacing line, which we've tried in real life and it doesn't work. There's not a lot of grip out there, so I think in that particular case, that's what happened.
Now he's got a great view of this fight as it starts to break out again ahead of him. This is awesome. Mills and Coons going at it, and they get it sorted out. It probably needed to, because that was opening up an opportunity for Neudorf to try and pounce once again. Constantino not too far behind either. He's been reeling this battle pack in as they've squabbled amongst themselves.
Yeah, he's having a really solid weekend as well. So JMF Motorsports, they're a busy group, running this championship as well as probably GT4 and GT World Challenge America, of course. Their debut season over there, had a couple of victories under their belt early in the year.
That's a sprawling program that just continues to grow, adding this component of it here this year. A couple of Toyota Corollas, and tell you, Kevin, Neudorf looked like he had plenty of faith in his brakes there at the end of Hurry Downs. Thought about making the peak up the inside, but ultimately had to back out of that one.
Yeah, every time the two Hyundais in front of him were battling, I'm sure he's trying to find the opportunity to use that to get by.
Here he comes again. This is down into Canada corner. Super late on the brakes and really well read by Mills, who lets him come through. Now he's going to have to back up and try and rejoin. This is really costly. Constantino is through. Klimas wasn't far behind and will likely come through to take a position as well. So a couple of times just pushing that braking zone a little too deep, or maybe working through some technical issues. Guys, how do you read this?
Well, big commitment down to the inside, and I think he gets to the point you know, he's just carrying too much speed there, Kevin. It's never going to get wound down in time.
Yeah, it almost looked like he had a lot of, the decel was good enough until the end of the brake zone.
Yeah.
So that makes me think that there is something going on abnormally with the brakes. So especially the way that he kind of gave up the corner. He lost confidence in the brakes. So I think something's, he's dealing with something out there.
Well, he'll have to sort that out and now try and limp that car to the checkered flag here, down in 8th. This would be an atypical result for Neudorf, who has been strong. And now we can put our focus in on this. 2nd and 3rd, Gronke and Gravett. What a fight this has been. They've swapped the position a couple of times that we've seen on camera. There's a pretty good chance they've done it a few times that we haven't seen. But right now, it's the affable Canadian, PJ Gronke, who holds that position just ahead of his rookie teammate.
A big points day for PJ with Neudorf's win at VIR. He closed to within about 22 points of that P2 in the championship, but with PJ having a really solid podium run here today and Neudorf dropping back after that braking moment down in turn 12, could it be a big point swing?
Not a surprise to see PJ run well here at Road America. He's very vocal about how special this place is, how much he loves coming here and racing here, and talked to him briefly at the parade earlier in the weekend. He was really confident about what he could accomplish with a couple of races across 2 days here today, or this weekend at Elkhart Lake.
I think for Gravett, what I haven't seen so far, Kevin, is any real legitimate strong move for that position. Yeah, they got side. Oh, that's wide. That is using that extra little safety net of that concrete mesh to the extreme. He hangs on to it, but I wondered if he had something up his sleeve here for late in the going, but time is not on his side with just 3 minutes to go, Kevin.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest challenge when you have two of the exact same manufactured cars, in this case even within the same team. There's not a lot of difference that you can make from the car itself, so it really comes down to the driver maximizing everything on track.
Well, Gravett's background is Spec Miata racing, and that is the nature of racing Spec Miata. Everyone in more or less exact equal machinery. And it does come down to the driver with a lot of wheel-to-wheel action to hone that racecraft. So that's the kind of thing he'll be drawing upon here as he tries to take 2nd place with just a couple of laps to go.
Yeah, I think the thing you really have to pay attention to when you're having this battle is who has the most tires here at the end of the race. And I think we might see some move here in turn 1.
Well, Gravett's going to try it around the outside, carries a lot of speed in and sweeps across the bow. How about that? The young Texan, the teenager, up a position. He takes 2nd place away, but Gronke won't go quietly. He's already trying to counterattack.
Yeah, I wonder when it's going to be go time for Gravett there. It's certainly a bold move there. He's certainly conscious of those track limits. Kind of pinched the exit a little bit to make sure he didn't run out of room there and have to give the position back due to those track limits, which will be called there in turn 1. So excellent move by the youngster there. Really nice controlled race.
But Gronke in the slipstream, getting close. Looked like he thought about making a lunge there in turn 5, but wasn't close enough. Gravett a little bit wide on quarter exit. Now the run up to the Corvette bridge. It's still Gravett leading Gronke here. This should be the penultimate lap of the race. They should see the white flag next time around.
I think we might be seeing Gravett's true pace there. He's got, clean air ahead of him. His line is not compromised by PJ in front of him. You see him getting pretty aggressive with his exit off some of these low-speed corners, Kevin.
Yeah, that's right. He's really attacking the entries right now, trying to use that momentum and and you see him kind of pull away on the exits there. So I definitely think that maybe he was saving just a little bit behind PJ there to have some pace at the end of the race here.
Interesting. DJ reporting the Hyundais thought Sector 2 might not be their strong suit, but we've got Ricka and Gronke with the quickest Sector 2 times. Neudorf, though, when things were going well, was keeping pace with them, and that was represented there in that statistic. But as we watch this fight, Gravett, to your point, Cal, now that he's out in front, is starting to leg out the advantage. car length by car length over the last lap or so.
Well, talking to Jeff Ricker, he's been so impressed by this young man. They did a test together back at the end of June, I think it was, at VIR, got him some experience in the race car, and he said he was on it immediately, and he said he pours over the data. He's used to working on his race car himself, so he's there helping out the crew. He's not just disappearing, he's just really digging deep here. He's absorbing everything that we can give him in terms of data and experience.
This is a change of position here with Mills now ahead of Coons. That's not how they started this lap. So Mills, another strong debut, has taken fourth place away with just over 1 lap to go. And this, we believe, is how the move was made. It was down into turn 5.
Yeah, that was late. Didn't come off with a lot of speed off the corner, but that didn't matter. He's got it for now.
Wow, fantastic stuff. Credit to Jeff Ricca, too. They brought in a lot of talent, rotating through those seats over the course of this season. Human Kim's name comes to mind. He won a couple of races at Circuit of the Americas, able to beat his team boss here head-to-head, which hasn't happened other than that, barring there was one race at VIR where Jeff had a little miscue, but other than that, he has been the strong tip of the spear for the Hyundai effort, as you would expect. But great to see so many deserving drivers kind of get a chance to see what racing is like at this level.
Yeah, and Gravit's certainly one of those. He was dancing that car on the brakes there and at the brake zone, Kevin. That was cool to watch.
Yeah, you know it's on the limit when you see the back of the car swapping side to side.
Gronke just did his best first sector.
He hasn't given up on this P2 position. He's hanging tough. I thought Gravit may disappear a little bit, but he's getting him really close here, looking to see if there's opportunity before the end of this final lap.
And PJ was half a second faster in Sector 1. We know, based on that graphic we saw a moment ago, he's very quick, very confident through the middle sector here. Different line, hugging the inside a little bit more through the carousel and closing in ever so slightly.
You talk about the power of the draft here, Kevin. I was talking to Jeff Ricca this morning. He said PJ picked up 8 kilometers an hour in the draft here on the straightaways this weekend when they're looking at data.
Yeah, that's
all
right.
of that right now, though.
Yeah, it's a little far away for the draft there.
And also, Constantino and Klimas have a battle amongst themselves. Oh, what a problem. One of the cars is slow. That is Coons. Pulled to the side of the track from 5th position on the final lap of the race. So heartbreak there for Eric Coons. At the front of the field, though, Jeff Ricca with an 8.2 second lead. The championship leader by 106 points coming into this race. Climbs the hill for the final time. He'll see the checkered flag, and for the 8th time this season, Jeff Ricca wins in TC America, powered by Skip Barber. He takes the first win of the weekend here at Road America. So much for that team to celebrate. Gravit hangs on, and in his debut, he'll take a fighting 2nd place. PJ Gronke back on the podium. He'll take 3rd. It's Mills across the line in 4th. Klimas in the slipstream, heaping the pressure on Costantino, pulling out a line. Drag race to the stripe, and Costantino is able to hang on by just a fraction of a second.
That was tight. 800s there between the 2 Toyotas across the line.
And Joey Jordan, who barely got to turn a lap in the races that he's been entered so far. They've been struggling with the electronic wiring loom in this car all season long. And they've been scrambling, working on this thing until 1:30 in the morning overnight here at the racetrack. On a hardship lap at 11, they thought they could at least get the car in a position to complete the race distance. And it looks like now he just has a few more corners to go. And that is exactly what this team needs. They desperately just need some track time to get some laps under their belts.
Yeah, that's really key to get the car through these races, learn a little bit more with the development on this Mazda. They put a brand new wiring harness in it since the last round that they competed in, and that didn't work this weekend. They had to go back to their old wiring harness for that hardship lap earlier this afternoon.
So Joey Jordan will make his way up the hill and see the checkered flag for the first time this season. Admittedly, just the 3rd race they've attempted, but nevertheless, that is a step forward for Joey and for the FTG Racing team. It will be an 8th place result. Heartbreak, though, for Coons, who is so optimistic, as he always is. Big smile on his face anytime he's at the racetrack, but something went amiss there on the final lap, and boy, that will be frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, when it's at the end, you always think fuel. You don't want to put more fuel in than you really need. Maybe the pace was a little bit stronger than they anticipated, but maybe something else technical.
Well, story for us to try and chase ahead of race 2 tomorrow. These races fly by this year, just the 25-minute duration, down from 40 minutes of years past. And at the end of 25 minutes, it's Jeff Ricca who takes the victory. Did back off a little on that final lap, so the final margin of victory, 7.5 seconds. But he'll be thrilled to know that his team swept the top 4 positions.
Yeah, and what was impressive too was the Pirelli tyre. There was very little dead. We saw fast sectors coming up at the end of this race. So even with those changes to the Hyundais, it seems like they managed to manage that quite well, Kevin, today.
Yeah, I think maybe that comes down to the long straightaways where it gives some time for the tire to kind of cool off as in between the corners. But it's definitely their pace was a little bit off of qualifying, so there was some managing going off for sure. But yeah, it's really impressive to see the consistency of the time through the whole race.
Here's a look at the provisional race results with Jeff Rica by 7.5 seconds. The win over Gravett, so impressive in his debut. PJ Gronke will take another podium. He's third. Mills, another strong debut performance. He finishes fourth. Costantino leads home a trio of Toyotas ahead of Klimas and Neudorf. Jordan and Nate. Coons will settle for ninth, and Sally McNulty, as we heard from DJ with some technical issues, did not see the finish today, so that team will go to work trying to get those sorted. But nevertheless, a step forward for that program as they continue the development work on that Mazda. And I think it's worth stressing, guys, you know, these aren't the factory homologated race cars that we see at the GT3 and GT4 level. A lot of these are homegrown in a way. It's more of a kind of throwback way of going racing, right? A grassroots way of going racing. The Hyundais kind of straddle the fence a little bit because they do have some factory support, but it's Jeff's crew that's building these cars, prepping them, and getting them out on the track. And so there is development happening at the racetrack in a way that you don't necessarily see these days in modern motorsport.
Yeah, and I think that's cool. I think it's cool to have both. Some competitors would love that turnkey race car, and others want to go home and make it come together themselves. I'm sure you've been on both sides of the fence.
Yeah, I think as a competitor, you want to be able to make it your own, but I think as a series, it makes more sense for all the Hyundais to be as close to the same as they can be, and all the Toyotas to be as close as they can be, because when they make an adjustment, that makes an adjustment to all the cars, and you're not just BOPing one car. So I think overall it makes the racing a lot better the way we've got to the way we handle it today.
Look at that celebration. Yeah, really well done today by Justin Gravett, coming home in second. But let's hear from the winner and happy car owner too. Jeff Rica is with DJ.
Jeff Rica, a 7.5 second advantage when you cross the line. That builds your championship lead to over 100 points and a 1, 2, 3, 4 for you and the team. What are you most proud of here today?
The team, I mean, that's crazy. And 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, we came in here with, a BOP that was much closer than we wanted to be in regards to the Toyotas, but then they showed a lot of good strength and practice and qualifying. So I was really nervous in the race, but our consistency, won the game. So that was awesome that I got 1, 2, 3, 4. That's awesome.
Your smile is infectious when it comes to that. At this point, when do you start to do a little bit of the championship math and maybe able to hoist another trophy?
Yeah, I mean, I do a lot of math. Let's put it that way. So yeah, we're pretty clear for the team and manufacturer championship. If we just have a nice, solid day tomorrow and, just show up to the rest of the races, would be a lot of relief off my shoulders, especially for the manufacturer. As a driver champion, I'm just going to keep on chugging, keep on going down, and, go for the gold each time.
Well, we wish you luck in that. Congratulations, Jeff.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to keep going over here, and we've got a few other drivers to chat with, including one of the young guns in this series. Here he is, Justin Gravett, straight out of the car. You look a little sweaty after that, but you got to feel pretty good coming home with a P2.
Right, yeah, that was a crazy race. My first weekend SRO, first weekend in front-wheel drive car. I come from Spec Miata, so I'm great. Happy that I was able to play second. It was trying to wait my turn to pass, make the pass for second. And, it was a great weekend.
P2 today. Tomorrow, you're going to have something for the boss man?
Yeah, I hope, get a good start. Our start wasn't as good as I thought it should be, but get a good start. And, hopefully you try to get in P1 and win tomorrow would be nice.
All right, well, watch out for this man. He's going to be one moving up forward. We've also got to come over and talk to one of the happiest men in the paddock, PJ Gronke. PJ, talking with the team right now. A great third place run for you. What a battle.
Yeah, that was a little bit rough there. I know I had the pace. I think we set the fastest lap, or second fastest lap, so we're starting second tomorrow. But with Justin, that was just a crazy battle. I did everything I could to hold him off. I knew where I was stronger. I knew where I was weaker, and he got me in the draft on the front straight, and I wasn't going to do anything dumb to a teammate. Rule number one. Don't hit a teammate. So hopefully it made for really good TV. That's what TC America is all about, and we're here to put on the show for all the fans.
You put on a good one for us today, PJ. Thank you so much, and we'll see you starting P2 tomorrow.
You got it. Thank you, DJ. Thank you, everyone.
No one's having more fun at the racetrack than PJ Gronke. Congratulations to him on another podium. Kevin, your takeaways from the race today in about 20 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, the race today, it really showed how when cars start battling, that's easy for the leader to kind of get away. And then we saw a lot of managing going on, some battles with some people holding back a little bit, making their move really count. And I think that's really made the race for today.
Well, the win for Jeff Ricca extends that championship lead well into triple digits. He's in strong control heading into the stretch run of the season. Here's how it played out today. The first of two races this weekend. Cars rolled out, took the green flag, and the battle was for the second spot. PJ Gronke was able to steal it away from Justin Gravitt there on the opening lap. Behind him, though, my goodness, we have battles aplenty over the course of this 25-minute race. This was a great one here. Neudorf and Kuhn side by side. They went side by side basically a third of a lap around Road America. Never made contact, kept it clean, and in that moment at least, Neudorf was able to hold on to the spot. Good battles between teammates as well as Neudorf went wide about the halfway point. Maybe battling some brake issues as he had a couple of scary moments. Able to limp it home, however. In the fight, though, for seconds, it was Gravitt that was able to take it away from PJ Gronke, but at the front of the field for the 8th time this season, Jeff Ricca takes victory in TC America, powered by AWS.